While you back there 2 minutes, go and upload that stuff for me. I'd like to make us a nice little you feel me, theme song. You know what I'm saying? Some nice music to bring us in.
Yeah. Chop Nation, what's good? What it do? What's going on with you? It is your girl Toya G. This is the Chop Up Show. I'm here, feeling good, feeling great on this. I'm on the way to spring break, y'all. I don't know if y'all do spring breaks. I don't know if you live a spring break type of life. I don't know if you got children to go on spring, but it's that time. Tis the season for me, and so I'm excited to be sliding up in the spring. You know what I'm saying? Doing my thing. I'm not by myself. Now, somebody important is missing, but they in the chat. Shout out to Damo, the plug, the political plug, more specifically around here, who's going to be in the mix with us from the chat, tapping in, tuning in, being a part of the conversation. But outside of the plug, who we wishing the best for and can't wait to see back again next week. Who else are here? Who in the building?
Yeah, man, you got Consciously. Shout out to everybody. Education is elevation. Chop Nation, we in this thing. We got some nice provocative conversation for y'all today.
Always some interesting things. Now, since Plug not here, we're not gonna do it the traditional way, which is the chopped up which is a 2-minute drills. You know what I'm saying? We say chopped up, not slopped up, and we usually get into a 2-minute drill. Instead of doing that, we're gonna wait for the Plug to come back and instead just get into a couple of quick conversations about what the hell is going on around here. What's good, Clarence? Clarence is already doing what y'all should be doing, coming in, saying what's up, tapping in the chat. So make sure y'all use y'all manners when y'all come in here and chime into the conversation. Let's get it going. Drewski. The bro Duski, who, if you've noticed, he has been in his bag, always been in his bag, but I think even more so, it's just like, what will he think of next? Always gonna be provocative, always gonna stir a conversation, always gonna piss somebody off. Somebody's gonna be displeased. And I think he's open to that, but walks that line and toes that line interestingly most of the time. If y'all haven't seen it, Drewski got a video out that is portraying a white conservative woman. And Drewski is not a small guy, but somehow he has found out a way to pull off the classic slender, blonde, white woman aesthetic that is the backbone of what we see in modern conservatism. There's a bunch of examples we can point to because it's a little bit of a stereotype. It took a jab, it took a hit. And so it stirred up a lot of feelings. Millions of likes across platforms, like maybe double-digit millions of likes for sure. A lot of commentary about it. At this point, Drewski done made a whole little white family. You remember little white black boy, right, with the teardrops on him, with the
white
and then the NASCAR white man.
Yeah,
it's a whole little conservative family that he done created in his mind and brought to us in real time. Shout out to Maria
about the white frat boy. You know what I'm saying? At the beginning, you know what I'm saying? When he first started with the white boy, with the white frat boy. Feel me, Cal Ruger University. You know what I mean?
You feel me? And so, like, I guess my question to you is, you seen Erica Kirk upset.
Cut off the.
Tell us a little bit more. And I know you're trying to hit the ding, but why are you looking for that? Talk to me about this video. What's your take? How'd you receive it? Do you think it's masterful? Do you think it's messy? Like, what's good, Antifa? What's popping?
I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought that the video was very well put together. I didn't laugh much in the video, but I did see the geniusness of him being a cultural critic. That's what I would say. You know what I mean? It was a great display and illustration of how he's really a anthropologist. Some could even say the way that he pays attention to different trends, to different practices, to different ways that people are able to get capital. Whether we're talking about a pastor, preacher, or we're talking about Erica Kirk. So I think that was, pretty smooth. I will say that conservatives always display that they are racially illiterate and that they are very ignorant when it comes to being able to read and write situations pertaining to race. When we start comparing blackface and whiteface, we start already seeing that these two things do not exist on the same playing field, and we do not have these same two history. Whiteface, by definition, is literally paint you see on clown's face. When you look up the definition of whiteface, that's what it's going to tell you. The history of clowns and circuses. When you get the history of blackface, it's going to talk to you about racial caricatures, racial violence. You feel me? And it's a bunch of ways just that discursively, I think white people, particularly white conservatives, are able to parade themselves as being victims. At the same time, always saying they are unapologetic about victimization. They really occupy a very weird ass space. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to shit like that. And just want to just read some real quick that come from this dude named Clay Travis. It just illustrates the racial illiteracy. He says that Erica Kirk's husband was assassinated in September. It's March and a black comedian is putting on whiteface and mocking her in the video. Honest question. If a prominent black leader had been assassinated and a white comedian put on blackface and mocked his widow, what would happen?
Snooze. Wake me up when we get over this whole. And here, I mean, I you know what I'm saying? I think because white people think in such simplistic terms, and this is also like the neutrality that like black people try to slide into. And it's like, you wouldn't, I mean, be honest, if they did that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the apologetics that come along with this very binaristic thinking. If it's not this is that. If it's got to be this or it's got to be that, and everything is weighed equally. And we know that that's not the case. We know about the disproportionality. We know about the intentional, like you said, caricature of blackness that has existed for so long and forever and ever and amen. So the whole turnaround and I got you, that what if I did it the other way is seeped and steeped in a history and a legacy, a convoluted, really fucked up, very toxic way that you have always dealt with others in whatever circle that you in. So your shit hit a little different. So no, you can't do the opposite, right? Joby Wine said, I love the white retort, but what if we did blackface? That would be racist. Yes, exactly right. And the fact that they don't understand that tells us that you're racist. You've been exposed. I couldn't have said it better myself, because to me, the desire to cling to the most violent, nasty, dirty, moment or representation of historical moments that have constantly shaped the relationship between us, when all I did was take a little joke and get a little boom, got my little lick back for a second, right? The fact that you go there and want to blow it up and be as nasty about it as possible is the proof is in the pudding, baby. I see you. I know what you are.
Illustrate that's why you can't season chicken. Shut up, you fucking nigger.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I didn't say a joke.
Like, bro, the shit is disproportionate. Like, it's not a proportional response. You feel me? Like, it's not equal. Like, that's the same thing. You had a sibling. You know what I'm saying? They poking at you or you poking at them or some shit like that. And then when they get mad, that's not the same, my nigga. Like, the escalation is crazy. But it comes from a place. And I think the second we forget that is the second we become way too neutral and willing to pass for bullshit and not letting humor and satire be what it is. Because they love to run to that and cling to that when it's time to defend, the fucked up jokes they be telling. So let it be true all the time. Plug said, they've been mocking us. I Can't Breathe. They mock Trayvon. They mock Black Death. There's no moral high ground for them to stand on. And that's why you can miss me on that shit. Last thing I'll say is clearly Erica Kirk upset about it, made some comments about it as well, tweets about it as well. They mad, they seething. And my thing is a hit dog will holler, because that man never said your name. So next.
Never said your name. Period. But he did your death stare.
I mean, there was some similarities, but like I said, the name was never said. You know what I'm saying? You rose to the top. You came out and said, Rrr. And to me, that sounded like a hit dog. Donald Trump trying to put his name on y'all money. And I really think that like a mug, like this textbook. So, Pete, Vanity Fair has confirmed that the Treasury Department is reportedly planning to add President Donald Trump's signature to all U.S. currency, replacing the traditional signature of the U.S. Treasurer. If implemented, it would be the first time a sitting president's signature appears on American money. The change would place his signature alongside that of the Treasury Secretary. So the Treasury Secretary name is still there with Donald Trump next to it. The move will mark a significant break from the long-standing norms in the U.S. currency design. This is a potential mock-up. Let me see if I can show y'all on the camera. The boy trying to get his whole face on the shit. And then the signature would be under the green emblem over there. No, it would be under the eagle on the side of his head. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with in Donald Trump's America, a.k.a. Neo-North Korea. What we thinking?
I had to stand up because
I see on your feet.
The level of narcissism that Donald Trump is able to display while he trying to beat a pedophile case, it just baffles me, because how in the hell is you trying to evade a whole bunch of accountability at the same time you trying to use more taxpayers' dollars to put your name on money, as if you're not already spending a lot of tax dollars. Like I just think of this too. if that Negro Barry Obama, Barack Hussein Obama was
Oh
trying to
my
put a
God.
signature
Roll that R,
all
my
the
brother.
dollars on every single one of the dollars,
Yeah.
man, these white folks, man, the white conservatives specifically, they still would be having the hissy fit throwing tantrums to this day. To this day. It's just
I mean, we never did. Not that I wanted it, but we still ain't seen Harriet. You know what I'm saying? Not that I wanted it. I do. They got Maya Angelou on a quarter. I did. I had one of those a couple weeks ago. I was stunned. I looked at my head and said, "Auntie, but this is crazy." Yeah, but I don't. We don't want it. We don't need it. And Antifa, I got you. Antifa said, I actually have North Korean currency. It actually has the workers on them, not the leadership. What I meant was just Donald Trump's desire to see his face on big shit everywhere. Like he just wants us to look everywhere and see. And when I think about that, it reminds me of Texas. Because when you go, one thing you're gonna know when you go to Texas, you're gonna know you in Texas. Have you ever been to Texas? They're gonna put Texas on everything. It's printed on the walls. It's in the name of businesses. It is you in Texas. You won't know. And so it's something about the center of attention that really be tickling me. Shout out to Sandra. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Janet.
W1 Bonobi too, man. You been putting up on me a lot. Thanks. Shout out to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of good people with us tonight. And we are going to take those good people and lead them into a conversation about the UN because there's some sticky things going on. I want to say somebody had kind of implied that we talk about, I think Clarence said, but the real thing is about slavery and how we've been treated and how people around feel about it. And I think that's a valid observation to make. Plug is in the chat. I'm here with Conscious Lee. Lee, talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the UN. Talk to us about what's going on with slavery and how people feeling about it these days.
Yeah, man. So on March 24th, 2026, the United Nations passed a historic resolution with 123 countries voting in favor, saying that it officially declared the transatlantic slave trade being the gravest crime against humanity. That not only did we have that, though, we had a couple of countries that abstained. A lot of people have been talking about the three countries that voted no: Argentina, Israel, and America. And not enough people have been talking about the European countries, the 54 countries that abstained and said, man, listen, we hear y'all, but we ain't got time for that. Or, some people even say the abstaining, it shows like we really don't want to be on the wrong side of history, but we also don't want to pay for it. What were your thoughts when you seen this UN decision declaring that the Atlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity?
I mean, I didn't even know they were having those conversations. And so I'm grateful that, especially in a country where that has benefited so much from what slaves gave, what they did, what was taken from them, in a country where they're not trying to acknowledge that shit, right? I think I live in the only state in America that is even having conversations about reparations, right? It's different places up and through California where they're actually advancing legislation on these questions. And so it's crazy to see that here, right? Slavery, of course, impacted the entire world, the entire globe. It was a global phenomenon, right? But in a lot of interesting ways, like I didn't know that world leaders were having these meaningful, really hard and necessary conversations about these acknowledgments or even pushing that conversation. So, I mean, I don't know, for a second that was heartening. It also was just like, oh, okay, obviously the United States and Israel are on bullshit. Like that seems to be a common theme and a common thread of what we see. And then as much as I live in Southern California, I'm learning a whole lot more about Latin American culture. And, correct me if I got some Afro-Latinos or some Latin people in here, but if I'm not mistaken, Argentinians are what they call the white people of the Latin people, right? Like they really are very steep, not only in the colorism and the politics around that and the way people are socialized, but also in a lot of their beliefs, conservative orientation, separations, divides, and just
and they always be a safe haven
for
white folks to be able to escape whatever they did in Europe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From Nazis to a bunch of rapey Israelis. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They always get to be able to skip town and go to Argentina. You know what I mean? A bunch of just something about the Argentina. I actually made an article today about this on Substack, and I grappled with the body of the United Nations, how it's more of a body of words that has no teeth. And I just want to read like two paragraphs that I have, you know what I'm saying, to kind of ease this conversation along before I start asking the questions. Yeah. To understand the full weight and the frustrating limits of this resolution, we have to understand the institution that passed it. The United Nations was founded in 1945 in the ashes of World War II with the lofty goal of preventing future goals, conflicts, and promoting human rights. Its charter speaks of the fundamental human rights and the dignity and worth of the human people, being equal rights to men and women of the larger nations and small. But here's the thing about the United Nations that nobody wants to admit out loud. The United Nations is not a world government. It has no army. It has no police force. It has no real enforcement mechanism. The UN General Assembly, where the resolution passed, is essentially a global town hall. Every member state gets a vote, but those votes carry no binding legal weight. Resolutions passed by the General Assembly are recommendations, not commands. They are the world's opinions written down and recorded in history. Skip down right here, what I'm saying, the last part. Mm-hmm. This structural reality creates a cruel irony. The nations most responsible for the transatlantic slave trade hold the keys to anything binding international act on it. So when we talk about this resolution, we have to be clear about what it is and what it ain't. It is a symbolic victory. It is a moral statement. It is a collective conscience of majority of the world's nations saying this crime was the worst of the worst. And we have a bunch of countries saying that, yeah, I don't want to be on the wrong side of history, but I don't want to pay for it. And you have the various ways that, America talking about we can't retrospectively apply international laws to slavery because those laws didn't exist when we was doing it. You feel me? America also said we don't want to create a hierarchy between oppressions because it would create a bad, to me, it's like as somebody, both of us that did policy debate, that grappled with Afro-pessimism, hearing about all the arguments that Afro-pessimists made, to hearing arguments about why the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity. Damn near what they were saying. The oppression Olympics argument is one that they
absolutely
it's one that already to me it's just so many ways that Afro-pessimism, in terms of being descriptor, people like to argue that it's not a good prescription analysis, whatever. I ain't arguing that right now, but the way it describes the world, it already got some rhetorical embedded ways to respond on arguments that can be made. Before I ask the question, all the information I just gave, I know you got some thoughts.
Well, I mean, no, when I think about the countries who decided to abstain, right, I have two thoughts about like this interesting position of abstention about something that has clearly been articulated and shared in context of perspective as being really fucked up, right? Like, first is, I think the fact that they don't want to pay speaks to the fact that they probably can't. Right? Because the question becomes, once we necessitate that reparations be paid, how much is it worth? How are you even able to quantify the way that slaves really created a portal to the new world, right? We use the term modernity as one that really shapes and describes and explains the shifts in the world where we really start to see who gets access to humanity and who does not. And we understand that a lack of access to humanity is the core reason why we are able to fuck up the environment. It is the basis and the reason why we're, comfortable and don't really care about or not invested in the ways that we tear up the water and that we mess up the ozone and that we do all these things, is that we're able to subordinate, right, those fixtures of our reality. We're dependent on them, but we're able to subordinate them. The same thing then becomes true post the transatlantic slave trade about Black people, right? We're able to benefit off of them. Y'all, I'm getting to the concept of exploitation now. Right. But in what ways do we have to really put them into the folds? And so how do you repay that violence? How do you repay the psychological messiness that it takes for white people and then other people as a learned behavior to then go and inflict that level of severe violence on Black people, on Black bodies, on Black flesh? Like, how do you, it'll never be the right number. It'll never be enough. And so then the slippery slope argument kind of starts to make sense to me, because when does it stop? How, like, there will always be somebody with a new referendum, with a new explanation for why more money needs to be paid. So it gets really, really sloppy. My second thought is, although that is true, we've seen other atrocities. We've seen what happened in the Holocaust. We've seen what's happened with indigenous folks in Canada, right? For example. And these people are seeing reparations. So some way or another, even with the incalculable violence that their people faced, they came up with something. They were able to sit with themselves and produce something and give something, and you know what I'm saying. So it then, on one hand, I understand like the weird way that people who abstain maybe come to that decision, because what do you pay back, and the messiness and the sloppiness that comes with that conversation. Because you gonna say a number, and I'm gonna say that's not enough every time. Just thinking about what slavery looked like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna always say no deal, and I know you can do better.
Enough. It's not a reason for you not to attempt to pay their debt off. You know what
But
I'm saying?
but the other side of it is
pay it off. But
what we
also too, I
see
think
with
that
those
this
groups of
is getting
people.
into it though. My
You said
bad.
what now?
You talking about the uncalculable nature of it is one of the reasons why they don't want to get into it, because they understand the capacity they will have to pay back. And so many different narratives of different countries have been woven, had slavery woven through it, from Spain to Portugal. You feel me? I think about it. Portugal was one of the countries that abstained. Portugal was responsible for sending more Africans across the transatlantic more across the Atlantic Ocean than all the European countries. They abstained. You know what I'm saying? Even Brazil abstained. There were a few Latin American countries that abstained.
And ain't Brazil the second? Brazil is the second most populated. Brazil is the second most populated outside of the continent. Outside of the continent itself, the most populated place for Black people on the planet Earth.
Because of how successful the Portuguese was in trafficking human beings from West Africa across the Atlantic to Brazil. Also, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico are also countries that abstained. Switzerland, Austria, Greece, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary also sustained. You feel me? All the major European powers, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, they all abstained. Them countries right here, the UK, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, them folks right there was directly tied to not only enslavement of Africans, but also the scramble of Africa. Yeah. So when we sit with the way these folks abstained, it's like, hey, like these implications. Portugal trafficked more Africans across the Atlantic than any other European nation. Britain, whose Royal African Company monopolized the trade for decades, whose industrial revolution, the entire industrial revolution was financed by slave labor. France, whose Caribbean colonies produced unimaginable wealth on the backs of enslaved people. Spain, Portugal's partner in the early stage. Belgium, whose King Leopold would later perpetuate the genocide on Congolese people that got the roads and ways into Congo through the slave trade. The Netherlands, who West India Company was primary slave trading enterprise, who also was able to get their hands in Angola and South Africa based off how they was able to do successful slavery. To me, I start thinking about it. I'm thinking about Afro-pessimism. I'm about to ask you about a question about that. But thinking about Marxism and thinking about the criticism that Afro-pessimism has for Marxism is like, hey, listen, you don't get your little revolution, this little industrial revolution, your idea of capital, the way you think about capital, that capital is made by Black bodies. The Black body is the capital. So you're going to have a hard time coming to grips with the way that your economy is situated, because your economy is made possible through Black suffering. Yeah. And I think because that is so true, that's the reason why so many people have a heart. That's the reason why you had 3 countries saying hell to the nah, and you had 52 being like, I abstain. How you I plead no contest, head ass. My question though, what do you think this says about all of our beefs and arguments when it comes to making different lineages, different differentiations amongst being a foundational Black American versus being a Jamaican versus being a Caribbean versus like what do you do with that?
Elaborate a little bit on that question. Like when you say, what do I do with that? How do I
The resolution was made, even though very symbolic, was about reparations. Specifically about getting reparations and about how the gravest, you know what I'm saying, humanity crime is the entire transatlantic slave trade. The FBA in Foundational Black American, that dialogue wants to sensationalize the Black people that was dropped off by the boat in America. This resolution is highlighting the entire diaspora that was created as a product of the slave land, you know what I'm saying, the transatlantic slave trade.
Mhm.
So for me, you feel me? I'm thinking about how this could either A, push the conversation forward when it comes to reparations, specifically when it comes to the entry point for foundational Black Americans, or B, it problematizes the conversation around foundational Black Americans and our strive for reparations, especially when it comes to the other Black folks that's not necessarily from the continent, but not from America.
So I think the part of this question that I'm missing is a really keen understanding about FBA's relationship to reparations. I don't know, because what they're based on their fundamental beliefs, they don't get reparations, right? That is not a part of the conversation that they have, because this is theirs anyway, right? And so they are not slaves, they are not descendants of slaves, then they don't get. Then teach. Open up the portal so you can bring me in.
Foundational Black Americans is saying that because we've had so many other Black people come into this country, so many immigrants, so many non-Black, non-white folks come into the country, they've been able to benefit from all of the strides that our ancestors have been able to make. And as a result, we need to have, you know what I'm saying, we need to have, as a result, in addition to that, we need to have reparations. Their issue is that we're not going to be able to tell who should get reparations, who shouldn't get reparations. So we have to do it based off of lineage. So what's worried about is that there's going to be foundational Black Americans that are also Black that try to get benefit from reparations or try to get resource reparations, even though they're necessarily not descendants of foundational Black Americans. So the conversation of reparations become even more kind of complex, because they start having conversations of who gets to be determined Black and who's not Black, and it's usually based off of them saying who is foundational Black American. Now, specifically, do I think that America should pay reparations to non-Black American people? Not really. You know what I'm saying? Not initially, anyway. You feel what I mean?
Right.
I do get, you know what I'm saying, the conversation about reparations, and you feel me, why we need reparations. You know what I mean? The issue that I'll be having with them has nothing to do with reparations, has more to do with how they think celebrating mass deportation and get them reparations. I have more of them thinking about how they celebrate white nationalism and blackface. It means something. Or if you put a American flag in your bio, this means that's my beef with them. But in terms of reparations, you feel me? Reparations, this resolution is about reparations. They, you know what I'm saying, be talking about reparations. You and I, before we even heard about it, FBA, before they even named themselves, we was already talking about reparations. So in a conversation about reparations and how it has become very complex, very messy. Not demure.
Not at all.
What do we do? This UN resolution calling the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity, and this conversation of reparations here in America. This is making more sense now, or do you know what I'm saying?
It does. I mean, that context was beautiful. 12 out of 10. I see why you the conscious lead. I think that it's hard because part of me, I mean, like on one hand, right, and I don't know that these things are incompatible. I have to sit and think with it, some more. But we, Mona Lee, our sexy Sulan, like 1000%, like in our bag, like the pride that we have about the shit that's ours. You know what I'm saying? Like a knowledge and an understanding that like we owe some stuff, and we have a knowledge of ourselves that you can't take away. That's a message I can get around. And so when we think about like who can, she has a conversation about who can say nigga and who can't. And I think when I think about reparations, part of me is like, we've had this conversation on this show where it was like, you got to have 4 Black grandparents. You know what I'm saying? But then we understand lineages and how deep other generations go. And that's where it starts to get real messy, right? Because we are then authenticity testing. You know what I'm saying? On one hand, like it's the complicated experience of being Black. On one hand, and I'm getting to reparations in a minute, but I'm going to start with nigga and kind of work my way up. Because on one hand, like if you are phenotypically Black, you know what I'm saying? If you got a Black, it don't matter how light skinned you are, that, like a certain shit we allow, right? That is like, it's tricky in terms of how we are able to delegate, like who gets to use certain language, right? And so that convoluted, complicated nature of that conversation brings me then to like the 4 Black grandparent kind of status that we have versus as long as you look Black kind of status. If you experience a struggle and you ain't got white parents, like if you've been on the block, one of your parents is Black, like we give passes. We you know what I'm saying? We negotiate those things in ways that give who we call niggas access to the privilege, to use the word. Now let's switch and look at reparations, right? Do we use that same framework? Right? Because essentially, you know, our ability to be protective over culture, over what's our, like, it's up to us to negotiate. But I also don't want that responsibility. Like, I don't want to be the authenticity tester. I don't want to be the person to say that, especially if what we know, we always talk about the police. If the police stop you, they don't care if you from here or over there or over there, but you a nigga, you black. You know what I'm saying? So do you not have access to, regardless of whether you are Caribbean, if you are from the continent, do you not have access to the like the pain, like, you know what I'm saying, that's created for you when you're inconvenienced by the, like, it's not that, none of that's yours. Like, that moment, regardless of where your people came from, you as a black person in this country tethers you and ties you to a particular violence of a particular history that is fucking you over right now. So do I think you should be able to get paid for that? Yes. Do I feel like, but it's hard because, again, this whole conversation is not connected to more contemporary experiences of anti-blackness. It's about the particularities of who lived through the trauma of slavery that created the framework for anti-blackness to begin with. So that's not lost on me either. Right? Like, and so that's where I think the impasse comes, and why I'm so kind of like, I'm trying to talk myself through it, because if we think about the way that blackness and anti-blackness is contextualized, performed, experienced, and actualized now, to me, you got to run me something for that, because I'm automatically looped, grouped, tucked in, and tied in with a history, whether or not I can sit here and tell you about my ancestors' connection to it. I'm being abused, manipulated, and exploited because of it. So on one hand, like, but on the other hand, when we're talking about the essence of what reparations are, it really is a conversation about righting the wrongs that have generationally created a positionality, a subordination, and ease and exploitability of black people who have ancestors who were slaves. Right. And so, like, I'm trying to talk my way through it, because I don't know. Like, it's weird and it's rough. And I feel like I don't feel comfortable enough to say you, because, like, then we get it. I don't know.
I think that I'll respond by saying, directly respond first by being like, I think that that to me would make sense for there to be tiers. If I think that, you know, reparations is about paying for government sanctioned violence, I think that government sanctioned violence didn't stop at the plantation. I think that it went through Jim Crow, it went through the war on drugs, it went through, you know what I'm saying, the 1993 crime bill, it went through all that. So I think that we have different variations of how you've experienced state sanctioned violence. And in my mind, reparations is about the state paying back for what it's been able to sanction or what it justified in terms of oppression and violence. So to me, you feel me? I think about the black people that's lineage, you've been here and you've been set back and you've been here for 9, 10 generations like myself. You feel me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, shit, my people been here generations in the plantation. You know what I'm saying? Generations. You know what I'm saying? But I understand, you feel me, that there have also been people that necessarily wasn't on the plantation that came to America, you know, during Jim Crow, after Jim Crow, they got to America before I'm saying a period of time. But I also think there are also black people that they just got here. They've been here for a generation. They've been here, they first generation, that they've also had to inherit some of this residual anti-black violence that state sanctioned just based off of how they position. Do I think they should get as much?
Every branch is connected to something that got some roots, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
most important thing to me though is this. I think that this conversation about who is black is a premature conversation that becomes a reason for why we don't get to even justify if we get the money or not. To me, I think anytime we start talking about making a settlement, anytime we start talking about divvying out money, we first figure out how much money gonna be divvied out and if we should get a divvy the money out first before we start talking about who gonna get theirs. And to me, I think that the conversation about who's black, how long they've been black, is usually one of the reasons, justifications for why we shouldn't even get to go and talk about reparations anyway, because hey, those are the can of worms we don't want to open. Before we even get to that, because we was able to figure it out. The Germans figured it out, you know what I'm saying, with the Jewish people. America figured it out with Japanese internment camp. They figured it out with different, you know what I'm saying, Native American tribes that's been able to be, you know what I'm saying, exploited and got going on by white folks. They figured it out. But I know that them trying to figure out who is going to was not a decision that was made before they decided if it's going or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, I think that's the very important thing in these conversations of reparations that kind of always get lost. And then the third thing is, it's not just about slavery. It's not just slavery. Every time Republicans tell niggas come off that Democratic plantation, that sounds like government sanctioned violence to me. Anytime they want to start talking about the crime bills that Joe Biden did, that sounds like state sanctioned violence to me. Even when they want to start saying, well, Kamala Harris locked up all the people, did she do it as somebody in the state? Sounds like state sanctioned violence to me. Even if we know, them numbers ain't how you say they is. Actually, we look at the numbers ain't. But let's say what you're saying is completely correct. All these are reasons to me why we should have reparations. To me, the how much it should be, who it should go to, that's second. Third, feel me? That's you know what I'm saying. That's kind of how I see it. You know what I mean? How you feel about that?
I mean, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. What I feel, I'm gonna go to the comments because they kind of been jumping a little bit.
Crazy
Shout
right
out
now
to Carly, and I think somebody else said the same thing. Some good comments in here too. I can't read them all, I can't catch them all, but I will say Carly has been kind of talking and said you can't quantify with a number. I also think somebody else said like you can't. There's no number that you can actually choose. Instead, Carly says it shouldn't be a number, but immediate access to credit, etc. It's going back into the economy anyway, and so that's the thing about reparations and why they are so necessary. If you want to stimulate economy, give some people some money to spend, and they're only a very particular group of people, and maybe not at all at one time, but over time to where they can really use it in a way that doesn't trigger inflation and doesn't do a whole bunch of weird things. I also the notion of a tier system. And something I hadn't heard before, but that is something interesting. I think the question will become who gets to make the rules on the tiers and how it plays out. The reason why I laughed, I'm gonna tell you why I laughed before I turn it back to you, so you could, do whatever we're gonna do with it, or even move to the next thing we want to talk about. Is Tyler, and I don't even know, Tyler, if you meant this as a funny, but I laughed. Tyler said, if you make over 80K, you gotta wait. I don't know why, but that's it. Just a little bit, because damn, like it wasn't 80K when my folks was getting their ass beat though. It wasn't that wasn't a thing. So why I gotta wait? Why the line gotta be long for me? He a fool. Tyler is a whole fool.
Tyler said you read it
right. This is the last thing I want to say. Last thing I want to say before we push to the next thing. Our producer, Maxim, in the background, said a widely cited reparations benchmark from William Darity Jr. and A. Kristen Mullen is $10 trillion to $12 trillion to eliminate the black-white wealth gap. Brookings separately estimated the total racial wealth gap is about 10.14 trillion. So 10 trillion total, about $213,563 per person. So if that is the quantifications have been attempted, people have tried to crunch the numbers to see what it might look like to make it right, to balance the books, and 10 to 12 trillion is what the streets are saying. Max also said 80K income doesn't mean 80K of wealth. The median black household, that doesn't really make up the gap. It might try to equalize some things, but the little 80K you looking at people, why they got to wait, that ain't shit. That ain't shit. Pay everybody at the same time. I think that's the that on that.
Yeah, that's the that on that, man. That's the that on that. I guess the last things I would say is that
yeah,
the last thing I say is that I froze too. You was freezing as well. You can click out some things. I need to click out some of these things. Let's see. All right,
reparations shouldn't just come as money. It should be multifaceted. College for free, healthcare, maybe some type of housing. Absolutely.
I think it should be. I think that the reparations should be multifaceted because the violence was multifaceted. The oppression was multifaceted. So I think that the same way that the violence was spewed, the same way the retribution for that violence should be able to be taken care of. And I think access to housing.
I should be able to choose.
Multiple checks. Oh no, I think it should be all. Our access to get to choose. They got it all. They got it all. They got to get the psychological warfare, the physical violence, the inherited, captivity, all that shit. So we need every single thing. You know what I'm saying? We need to be able to get some access to some credit lines. Need to get access to some housing. Need to get a couple of checks. You know what I'm saying? A couple of checks. You feel me? Goddamn, a couple of. As a matter of fact,
You're right.
might need some percentages. Might need some percentages broke off every time. And not do dividends. Shit, we need that. We need that. We
When
need
you're
that.
right, you're
But
right, my boy.
spent way more little time. I want to go deeper into the explanations, but I feel like I'll just say that for I say that for a Substack article, man. I say that for a
Right on.
Substack article.
Right on.
Man.
Hey, real quick, shout out to Free DNA. Shout out to Miss Ma'am in the building. Everybody coming in, continue to say what's up. Keep the chat live too. Y'all definitely going off right now and having conversations with us and each other. It's appreciated. Keep talking.
Definitely keep on talking, man. Definitely keep on talking. So we got a lot to talk about this next one. You know what I mean? I'm gonna start it off by talking about the Mark Wayne Mullen, Oklahoma senator that was threatening people to whoop their ass and making a whole bunch of different jokes, has just been appointed to be the head of DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. And as somebody that spent 18 years in Oklahoma, and that really got to be around the sack of shit known as Mark Wayne Mullen, I see that like mediocre white men and sometimes even like below subpar white men get away with getting whatever they desire because the world has taught them that they should be entitled, and has taught them they can be self-centered bastards that believe that they are desirable to get anything they do. So it's just like just sitting with that, and then also like diversity, equity, inclusion is said to be giving unqualified people positions because they didn't earn it. And then Mark Wayne Mullen, I'm talking about, no disrespect to nobody that went to junior colleges. You know what I'm saying? What I do know is
teacher one.
Your junior college degree, they ain't gonna let you do with it. They gonna let you do what Mark Wayne Mullen doing. You know what I mean? He's a construction worker, social. He got no experience in security.
No. Zero.
As a black woman, when you hear about people like Mark Wayne Mullen that are able to ascend themselves to the highest offices in the country, being not qualified, having no accolades, what does that say to you as a black woman? And more importantly, what does that say to all the little black girls out here? They have to work 10 times harder to get some shit.
Yeah, keep your eyes on your own paper, because if you look around, it's gonna piss you off. That's what it tells me, is that if I think too hard, listen, if I think too hard about how the just bare bones below mediocrity that gets to pass to some shit that's really moved, if I like it'll distract you so much that it'll make you resentful, it'll make you hateful, it'll make you want to rage, it'll make you want to not try. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much I have to do, so much shape shifting that, you know, other black women and women of color and women in general, you know what I'm saying, have to do. And I don't want to generalize the conversation because it is really about the uniqueness of the black woman experience. But when I think about how, you know, especially as a black queer woman, you know what I'm saying, how feminine, how then the right version of black femininity, then I'm like, not your Jezebel, but I'm not your Mammy, but I'm not your Sapphire, but I'm like, I'm just like me in my own little bag. Then there's some ageism, you know, and it's just a whole bunch of really fucked up shit that I always have to calculate for and think about and overcorrect for. And in real time, try to be pliable enough and be keen enough about what's going on and navigating. And you look at people like this idiot over here. The man got anger issue, rage problems. But if I roll my eyes and move my neck too hard, then you want to have a conversation with me about my attitude. He literally sat in a town hall meeting and talked about whooping his kid, talking about bending his child over, and popping her a couple times, and thought he was really talking his shit. And of course, in Oklahoma, you probably are. Right, macho, but let a black woman, you know what I'm saying, like really talk about wanting to I don't know, man. Like, it's just white men get away with a whole bunch of bullshit, and he's one of the worst versions and examples of what that starts to look like. Shout out to KJ, shout out to investing, or that's Blue. Shout out to Blue. Let me see. Andre is in the building. Shayna is in the building. Shout out to all of y'all for popping in. Definitely happy to have y'all in the comments in the chat. Carly said the FBI director had no experience, was appointed based on his loyalty. Yes, another great example. Kash Dan Patel. Like, get out of here. What's up, Trev? What's good? But the shit is wicked.
And talking about Mark Wayne Mullen, the new head of DHS, it's important that we start to connect the dots for the audience, people that's listening, whether you're watching on TikTok, whether you're watching on Twitter, Instagram, Substack, whether you're listening right now on iHeartRadio or on, Spotify.
Yeah.
DHS also runs TSA. Right now, we have a tug of war where I would say the conservatives are throwing a political tantrum saying that unless you MFers give me the unadulterated ICE funding, we're going to take your funding from TSA. But when you start to go down, when you start to go down the roadmap, especially given prior to 2025, you see that this was always a part of the plan. Right here, I'm gonna go and put it on the screen. Actually, right now I have Project 2025 pulled up, and research over me search. It's important that we use our research skills. Right now, I have Control F, Control Find. I have TSA typed in. What you see is that TSA is mentioned 26 times. 26 times in prior to 2025. We see right here, read this part right here, say the bloated DHS bureaucracy and budget, along with the wrong priorities, provide real opportunities for a conservative administration to cut billions in spending and limit government's role in American lives. The opportunities include privatizing TSA screening and FEMA. They want to reform FEMA and reform TSA to make it all privatized. I'm going to hit it one more time. Hit another one.
Yeah.
Transportation Security Administration. The TSA model is costly and unwisely makes TSA both the regulator and regulated organization responsible for screening operations. As a part of an effort to shrink federal bureaucracies and bring private sector know-how to government programs, TSA is ripe for reform. They even talk about the United States should look at the Canadian and the European private models. So we start to see what Mark Wayne Mullen doing, what Pound Bonnie was doing, all the various ways that, our government is trying to privatize different things at the expense of the American people. We see it was always already a part of the plan. Republicans should try to make it as if it's about the Democrats withholding funding for ICE, but it was always a part of the plan for them to cause a whole bunch of shenanigans. This is the last thing I say before I hear your thoughts on this. What I learned from reading is that they really was hoping that enough TSA agents would quit and this would do something to the union because TSA is unionized. As long as TSA is unionized, it's going to get in the way of how they try to privatize it. So they were hoping that all of the chaos, all of the withholding the funds, all of the government shutdowns would eventually make it where they could do away with the TSA union and then move into this privatization model that will allow for some more oligarchs and some more corporations to make a whole bunch of money at our expense. You know what I'm saying? So just always be able to connect the dots, man. Think globally, act locally. Goddamn, these folks always had it on the thumb. And I know you was talking about as well it being a dry run. You said they might testing something. We was talking about this. You mentioned what you were saying.
I think this is just a convenient opportunity for them to test run the escalation of the 26 times that name is uttered in that document, right? This is a great chance, a convenient opportunity for them to instill TSA officers, to move TSA officers out of the way, right? To be embracing of this really long haul battle, and then to find a way to move their chess pieces on the board, which is what they've been able to do time and time again with this document, right? It reminds me about when certain candidates who were running and certain people who were having conversations, not even about in favor of certain candidates, but about what was coming down the pipeline, and people didn't take it serious, right? And so to the letter, and Carly brings up a great point, man, what is his name? DeJoy? That man is just so full of nonsense with the USPS. Carly says the USPS is next. Right? Like that is another key fixture and feature of American governance, that as much as we want to shrink the government and make it small and get them out of our business, that they're taking away the value that it adds to the comfort that we experience as American citizens or people just in this country, not even citizens, but people who exist in this country. And so, like, I think the scary part is that this is a sign of things to come. I think the scarier part is what we're starting to see is that people will be disincentivized from traveling, right? That's the way of locking and gritting people in, creating certain anxieties. It's just on the strength of not wanting to have certain conversations. We saw up in San Francisco, right, earlier this week, that a woman was with her child and got stripped and pulled away from her child in the San Francisco airport. She pleading, crying, rolling around on the floor, screaming, and they are literally there at what they feel like are entry points that are not being overly policed and policed effectively enough, and they're getting people out of there. The other thing that we can't ignore is that when you privatize things, it was already said in the chat, I think Joby Wan said privatize means fascistize, right? It means you now have the opportunity to really amp up, but also at the same time create separation between a lot of the violence that you create, because the government is now not accountable for the violence that they perpetuate. Right now, when ICE does something fucked up, or when TSA does something fucked up to somebody, they're able to say the government did it, right? The government is a part of that. But as you privatize everything, now the government needs to say, well, that is them, and this is handled through private channels. We don't have to be open facing. We don't have to articulate or explain what happened. We don't have to get into details. There's a level of anonymity, a cloak, right, and a covering that privatization offers to the situation where we're not getting as many intimate details. We're not holding as many people accountable. We're not having bigger conversations because we don't know those people, right? And so that's where you really get the right hand and the left hand being completely out of sync with each other, even more so than what it is now, right? So I think it's wicked, it's scary. You have people like now the USPS, shit like TSA is up to people like Jeff Bezos. Like now you just, whoever the highest bidder is, you can just come buy it and run it how you want to. And I think that shit is a scary world to live in. We already saw what happened when billionaires get the ability to take government infrastructure and do whatever the fuck with it. Y'all remember Doge? Hopefully y'all didn't forget about that. Right? You had not quite privatization, but you had somebody come from a private sector into government and was able to make overhauls and largely complicate and break down everything that was wasteful and unuseful in the government, right? Because there's so much loss and so much waste. And by the way, you know who's in charge of decreasing the amount of waste in the country? The devil himself, JD Vance, right? His responsibility is to get rid of the overspending and the misspending. This is why things like Medicare and Medicaid, they're coming back for a second crack at that shit, because they want to look at every single key and important appendage of the country and figure out ways to kind of break it off and sell it off for parts and pieces. Carly said, I'm still waiting on my Doge check. Me too.
Still waiting on my Doge check, man.
Where my money? It's crazy. Shout out to Trail. What's up, fam?
Shit, really, the more you talked, I said about and thought about the visibility versus the anonymity of ICE.
Yeah.
In the conversation of privatizing TSA, and how this anonymity to visibility when it comes to ICE agents is something that we got to just really sit with and unpack. When they were being masked, it was obviously non-melanated people. And now that they are not wearing masks and they in the airports, it's a whole bunch of melanated folks, a whole bunch of black people that's brought about a bunch of interesting discourse. Definitely. I think there's a little bit of bitch assness mixed in with a little bit of classism, mixed in with a little bit of being lost in the sauce of patriotism, mixed in with a little anti-black pathology. You know what I'm saying?
And a little bit of poverty, because sometimes all you gotta do is flash the number of.
That's why I said classism.
Yeah. So the natural.
That's why I said classism. You know what I'm saying? But what I know about us people that's born in poverty, raised in poverty, been around poverty, you ain't never able to use poverty to define yourself and try and justify some sucker shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't got to do that. And I think a lot of us really is showing that you are a class traitor, and you think you being class conscious, talking about poverty, but you really just being a class traitor. You think that you siding with the corporations and the Gestapos in the name of getting you a check at the expense of everybody else. It's some G shit. And I just think that you smoking dope and dog food. And, you know, dope and dog food is not good for nobody at all. But we got a visual right here, man. We got a visual right here. This comes from Leo Freeman. Leo, I disagree with you so much. Shout out to you, Leo. Leo says, black people that are shaming black Americans for choosing to be ICE agents when gang culture, violent rap music, and ratchet black women culture is defended as black culture is truly the most ridiculous rhetoric I've ever seen. Toya G, what are your thoughts?
Seeing black ICE agents is troubling. Let me see. Let me reread this caption real quick. Black people that are shaming Black Americans for choosing to be ICE agents when gang culture, violent rap music, and ratchet Black women culture is defended as Black culture is truly the most ridiculous rhetoric I've ever seen. I reread it over again because I really wanted to sit with how internally loathing you have to be, how much you really kind of gotta hate yourself and your people, right? To put an evil next to the stereotypical characterizations of your own people when we know the Black experience is so much more vast than that. So I don't know. Like, I was tripped out to see the caption aside. Let's put the caption aside. Caption's dumb. Caption aside. Seeing Black ICE agents was a hard pill to stomach. Not that I didn't know that they didn't exist, but I think, like you talked about with the revealing of the covering, you can't hide no more, right? That it created I think an even more moment to tug at their conscience. And now you in so deep and you playing such a bullshit ass game, and now they tell you what to do. As Max kind of pointed out, they move you from place to place. They move you to cities and states you ain't even from, places you ain't ever even been to before. And that's just how deep we lost you are. Like, it's rough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm kind of lost for words, and I want to let you kind of rock out with what you think or what you see about it. But like, seeing Black ICE agents, I think throughout this week show up on posts like this, it frustrates me. I can't be surprised about it because then I'd be a fool. But I think in a lot of ways, it speaks to just how murky, messy, dirty, and to me inexcusable it is. But I don't want to count your pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like, we say all the time, we see desperate people do desperate shit in our communities. We see people who down to their last dollar and they do things out of character. They do things but to go as far as to be the oppies is just something that I haven't really quite been able to fathom. I'm not saying I prefer for you to go like rob somebody or commit a crime or do some weird shit. It's hard to use the scapegoat. I just think you like the shit. And that's why I think you weird and fucked up. Like,
you pointed out,
I'm trying to rationalize and think through, and I just really think you just like the shit.
Yeah. And you pointing out the false choice though. Like, you pointing out the false binary, like, well, if I can't do this, if I can't go be a slave catcher and y'all can't respect my hustle of being a slave catcher because I gotta get mine and pay my bills, then shit, I gotta go rob people. To me, it's like, this is a false this is a false choice. You see what I'm saying? It's
and
like,
if you want me to applaud you for like not killing people or like not selling drugs, that shit is not common. It's not as common as you trying to make it to be like, I could have been doing that, but yeah, maybe kinda. But there's so many people who are living in your situation who are also not opting into committing crimes and shit. So I'm not impressed. You're not doing me a fucking favor by not being bad to your own people or trying to fuck people over or do something bad or terrible or malicious or like, I'm not. You're not like, so I chose this. I could be doing this, but you could be doing a whole bunch of other shit. I've always, as an educator, my number one belief and motto is that the safest place for you to be is in somebody's damn classroom. When in doubt, go to school. Go get your little school check. Go to a couple little classes. Figure out how you might find something you like. Find somebody to inspire you. Find some motivation. Find a fucking pathway. But the last thing you need to take your ass and do is go sign up to be somebody who is willing to kill, who's willing to destroy, who's willing to literally tear down in the name and for the sake of a fucking dream that never included you in the first place. That shit will always be lost on me.
Yeah, because ICE is literally slave catching, immigration catching. You know what I'm saying?
Par excellence. 10.0.
Yeah, like, definitely. But to me, it showed that neoliberalism has consumed Black identity in ways that makes Black people defend machines that have an appetite of staying alive by killing us. Because to me, it's like all of I put up another example. I put up another example real fast. I think it's good for us to have, you know what I'm saying, like, a bunch of different cases. So this is something that went kind of viral on Threads. It's from Jess the Yapton. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the hell, I disagree with her as well, man. But this is what it says. So it's protect Black women as long as they're not in the military, police, or ICE agents. I can't. I'm done. Fuck out of my face. Then underneath it, because obviously she got ratio, you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
ratio
yeah,
when you have more comments than likes is like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It happens to the best of us. It's happened to myself before, you feel me? You know,
yeah.
whatever, right? It says, so this is the type of shit y'all on. So when shit goes back to being very whites only, none of y'all better not be talking about where's representation. Get the fuck out of my face. Shout out to Deontay Kyle. He in the comments, he said, representation. And it's just like that's the world we're living in right now, where we have people fighting for representation in a system or institution that is structured by anti-blackness, being anti-them, and they believe being merely accounted for being present in the system is good enough, even if it's come at the expense of the collective. It's like, damn, that's where we're at. And to me, it's like if you have to have a false ultimatum that says if you don't criticize the way black culture is degenerative, then you got to be able to support, you know what I'm saying, niggas being a part of the state. It's like, no, both of these things are false, actually.
Both of them are ass. You know what I'm saying? And I think what becomes problematic is I think it waters down the spirit of what so many black people have strived to do and what they've accomplished, because it wasn't just fucking representation for representation's sake. I didn't get my ass in here and fight and claw and deal with a whole bunch of bullshit because I necessarily wanted to be the first or wanted to be the best or wanted to be the one or to demonstrate representation. I probably did it because I was invested in whatever the fuck it was. I did it because I was in my bag and I was good at it and I was talented. I probably did it because I recognized that it was a pathway of upward mobility for myself and my family. I did it because I have a knack for it, because I'm skilled and talented and I'm just better than everybody else. And so not really in the name of representation, but I popped my shit so good that like, here I am. And now you see me in all my glory, right? Shout out to people like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was just like, nobody was just like, I want to be a representation of blackness in the Supreme Court. It's like, no, I'm just that good.
I'm just that good.
And, you know, facilitating and applying the law. And I made a pathway, and now look at me, I'm right here. It's people like that person who was on that post who think representation for representation's sake is good enough. And this is why representation politics don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like they are a thing, right? Like I got my own little first ever to do this, but I try not to get caught up in that shit, right? Because the fact that we're celebrating first to begin with is a reason to zoom out and have a better referendum on the system that we caught up in to begin with. Why do we have to celebrate that I'm a first? Why are we celebrating the representation and shit? It's because there were barriers that still exist, by the way, even outside of my representation. Do you know shit is still shit? You do realize why you putting out the eyes on me that nothing's changed. We've simply glorified a moment that, especially if you are doing representation for some bullshit, now really doesn't mean anything, and that's how you get tokenized. That's how you become the illustration of performativity. This is how you become the picture in the book as I turn the page and tell you how anti-blackness and nigrophilia and nigrophobia really kind of work together. You're nothing more but an illustration.
Black slave masters? You don't need black slave. So you don't think we need black slave masters, black slave catchers, black overseers?
I believe it or not,
we need those. You know, so like back in time,
as a person who loved the movie Life, one nigga I hated was Hoppin' Bob, because we don't like.
You don't think we need some of them though? Like technically, the plantation would have been better represented had we had more black people in leadership positions on the plantation, having black overseers, having black slave catchers, having black, slave masters would have made it where we could have seen ourselves as not only being able to feed our families, because somebody got to be overseer. Why not your black ass? But also being able to have other black people to ascribe to also one day be able to run the plantation and have a leadership position in the plantation. To me, when I hear people being like, you're mad at black women being police officers and in military and ICE, is like, listen, man. That's the hill you want to die on?
Like the weirdest shit. And so I struggle with the whole representation bit, because I feel like it's the greatest lie ever told. I think one of the biggest, misconceptions that we've been given is that faces in high places means that we've done something or moved somewhere. That's been the biggest, vehicle to the comfortability of, I think, our generations, right? Especially as we see shit like, these piecemeal changes that happen, for example, with the civil rights movements in the 1960s. And now we feel like we got something. We feel like shit is balancing out and equaling out, which what does that do? That gets people to take their foot off. Because why are you so angry? They let you in there. Look at what they doing. Look who they let in there. So when the whole time we still should have been pissed as fuck. Because what you'll notice is that there'll be one and then there'll be a gap in some shit. And there'll be a couple of increases in diversity. And then they'll have a whole class of new offers or a whole new orientation toward core recruitment and they ain't got no niggas. Like, so what are we even talking about?
I think
what are we even talking about when we talk about representation as a politic?
I think to end this one, I would argue that identity politics has been commodified by the state.
Real quick, don't forget, identity politics has been commodified by the state. Miss Jordan Bay said, "Are you trying to say unionized plantations?" I just came in. That is not that is not what we saying.
Hey, but Miss Jordan, I was being facetious and sarcastic. Very much so. By being able to call into question the logic behind saying, why can't we have black ICE agents? Why can't we have more black police officers and black? It's like, listen, Linda. To me, it's the logic of saying, yeah, we need more black slave catchers, more black slave masters, more black overseers.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that is bad. Not only is that bad, to me, it's like it's showing that if you believe Donald Trump to be as bad as you claim he is, you taking up a job to uniquely push on this agenda, it's got to be bad, especially if you just getting a job at ICE. You just get a job at ICE, you uniquely got that job to push forward an agenda that's anti-black, anti-immigrant, anti-poor people. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, ain't no way of getting around that. But
Joby Wan real quick says, what does Steven, Sam Jackson's character in Django, get in defending the system? When the master dies, he doesn't inherit the plantation. I think that is a great kind of contextual example of how lost you really got to be even be that invested. But my bad, I keep cutting you off. Go ahead, rock out.
Nah, you good. I feel like we can bring this to the end that we planned on by me dropping this little tidbit on y'all.
Yeah.
So Project 2025 is 920 pages. When I click Control F and I type in Iran, how many times, Toya, do you think it come up?
Can I add? Is it more or less than 26?
More than 26.
Jesus, help us all, my Lord.
57. Iran is named 57 times in Project 2025. 57 times it is named in Project 2025. So, a question that I would like to just posit, you know what I'm saying, especially when it comes to you, but also to the audience, is that we know that they have a playbook. Mm-hmm. We know their offense. We know their strategies. We don't have a defense. Why haven't the Democrats come up with a defense? And why are we still acting surprised when they start to execute plays that they already gave us the playbook for 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think this is a conversation about the character of people. And I think the fail-safes of our governing system that are supposed to keep certain people out of the driver's seat to not do really terrible shit. And I think the Democrats have committed, if they've not committed to any damn thing else, they've committed to like not being so aggressively the scum of the earth. And the Republicans have just and conservatives more specifically, have just not given a shit about that. And so the crazy part about that is that they also have the keys to the kingdom in ways that we thought we had a political system that keeps those crazies out of it, right? I just don't never think we fathomed a world where we knew people thought like this, right? I don't know if y'all know, but like there's a police department in Mississippi that was like relocating and tearing down something and moving, and they looked in there and found in some old offices at a police department KKK hoods and little ledgers of people who they was following and who they could rely on to take care of. So it's just, we know the shit is, we know it, they exist. We just never thought they would get to the highest levels of governing bodies to be able to create a document to escalate this way. And so I think the Democrats, for better or for worse, and more recently have, been very consistent and intent on being the party of equality, the party of equity and progress and things like that. So their minds have not gone to just how warped, how many and me and Plug, I think, talked about this another week. How many cracks, how many contours, how many cleavages in the system exist. I don't think they've been fucked up enough to like think that way, to abuse and manipulate systems in this way. But the conservatives have, and they've been able to play the game in a way that right now we're seeing has put the wrong people in power, allowed for the wrong people to mobilize and to influence the position of the presidency, the cabinets, and everything else. And we are just kind of dealing with that. Like, I don't think there's a better explanation outside of Democrats. Just, that's not their messaging. They don't feel like that resonates, and that's not what they collect around. And
damn,
Trump Republicans and Trump conservatives have found a way to come together in ways that are meaningful and strategic to really overhaul a system that was supposed to be built to not let these type of people be in the front and be the loudest and the strongest and have the most power. And look at them go. Look at them.
Damn.
And so that's how we get here.
Definitely. These are the last things I would say, because I realized this when we were doing the planning for this. I have not seen the video you and Max was referring to about Iran taking a victory lap and the N word. I don't know what you was talking about.
I think we should just watch it on the way out, and we're not even saying nothing about it. Just leave it with
on y'all mind though. I want, we don't see it on the way out. Max, can you put it up? But it's something to put on y'all mind though, man. Because Max put in the private chat. We either read ahead the playbook. I typed in food, Control F food. Toya, how many times do you think food is mentioned in Project 2025?
If Iran is in that hole 150 times, and I'm just doing my math in my head, and one of the main ways we know that is that the state tries to manipulate, tear us down, break us up through our food, and it's one of the easiest ways they can control and manipulate people. I'm gonna go for Trev said 3. I'm gonna go with 3. It gotta be more than Iran.
Yeah, 202 times. 202 times food is mentioned.
Round up.
2 times, man. Now, water is mentioned 118 times in Project 2025. I encourage y'all to go figure out what the hell is these folks planning to do with water and food, where they're mentioning over 100 times. Why would Project 2025 mention food over 200 times? Why would this same manifesto doctrine mention water over 100 times? Just go here. You can type in Project 2025 in Google. It really take you to the full PDF. It's just all of us should become more familiar. The more we see Donald Trump gets further into his presidency, the more we start to feel like we're being bombarded and surprised, the more we should go read and learn about all the plans they have, man. All the plans they've been talking about. I want to do one more. Toya, what is one more word you think I should look up real fast just to kind of contextualize the importance of this document and how our government... and before you mention it, actually, last week, I saw a report that said that 51% of the Project 2025 has been executed.
Ain't no way.
51%. Can we have somebody in the comment section? You know what I'm saying? We got women in prison. Okay, we got women, prison.
And congressional elections.
Okay, let's type in election first.
I feel like election. I do want to know how many times that pop up.
Election, 105.
Do voting. Just because I want to see, because if it's election, I want to see what voting look like.
Hey. Election is 105. Women, 101. 101 times. Women is mentioned 101 times in Project 2025. Think about that. Think like this, just sit with this shit.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. Yeah, do prison.
Only 5. Hold on. Prison only 5. Only 5. Really focus.
That's the prison out here. They creating prisons without. And also shit, the new prisons is damn ICE detention centers.
Black 35 times.
Ain't no
It's
telling
some
it. What
great.
context? What about? Here's what I want to add. Then I was thinking about what word I want to know about. And it's because I think in order for Project 2025 to be successful, it has to be future oriented. So how many times, yes, Trev, how many times do they talk about children? How many times do they talk about kids?
Gender 111 times. Let's see, kids.
Gender 111 is crazy.
Kids, kid, it is 10, 12 times. Let's see, children.
Max, we can see that.
Children 189 times.
That's yeah. Because like I said, they got a plan for them.
Hold on though. The word future 151 times. Feel me?
Because we late. Hold on, Max.
Hold on, I want to hear this shit. Let's see.
Well, I mean, just 1 second. Let's set it up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Set it up. All right, set it up.
Excuse me. We're about to play this video on the way out. And by the way, I want to acknowledge Joby Wan's comment. Said, "This is my second time hanging out. I'm glad I found this excellent discussion. We glad you found us too. I don't know if you came in through our everybody's favorite Conscious Man, Consciously. I don't know if you found the Chop Up Show because the Chop Up Show just is out there to be found. But I'm grateful that you're in here. Just like I'm glad Antifa, Miss Jordan, Trev in here, Tyler, shoot, who else been talking to us? Miss Ma'am, legendary member of Chop Nation. Just everybody, Carly, all of y'all who've been talking to us. It's definitely a blessing to be in here with y'all. We're gonna go on this note. I think we're gonna go ahead and play this song and leave. Here's how I wanted to set it up. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The US is losing and Iran is winning the war. What happened, Plug? I mean, what happened, Lee?
Boy, I typed in art and it say 2,000 times, but it's like because the word department, art is in the word department.
Article.
So like,
yeah, all types
boy,
of
I'm like, man, I'm like 2,000 times. Yeah, my bad. I mean,
no, you smooth. This video exists, and apparently, I wanted to play the whole beginning where it's the explanation of what's in the video, right? Because Iran is on our neck. They know they ahead. It ain't no secret to them how they cooking, and this song smack. Now, here's two observations. Observation one: I want to know who the hell put this together. I really need to know who created this and why they over there being so damn creative, because it's gonna have you tapping your toe, but after it's done. Second is anti-blackness is a global phenomenon. How do I know this? Because somehow, and you'll see why it just seems out of place. Like, why they have to say nigga in this? It's just everybody want to say nigga, except for the people who actually need to be saying nigga. It's just really I'm glitching, frustrating, but. This is fascinating. Don't forget, the United States is losing. Iran is winning this war, and they know that. Drop the clip. We'll see y'all next week.
Breaking fuck the news. Here's another video that apparently Iran media has posted. It's a Lego animation of fucking Donald Trump. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. You crossed the ocean just to find your granny. Sacrificed your own boys for a lie. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Make America great again. Yo, Tails, this shit crazy. Yeah. Make America great again now. We will see what happens, yeah. Watch this. Sacred defense, we protecting the soil. While you sacrifice soldiers to pay for your spoil. You once who ran the globe, sitting on your throne. Now we turning every base into a bed of stone. It's a slaughterhouse, a trap you couldn't see. Welcome to the graveyard of your vanity. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target.
Breaking fuck the news. Here's another video that apparently